Okay, call the meeting of the special meeting of the Board of Selectmen order, 18 April 2024 at 4:03 or 3:03, excuse me. Okay, agenda. We have any public comments on what we're going to be discussing today? Any of our invited guests or any other public that may be joining us? Or anybody on right now? Okay, hearing no comment, then we'll go to number 3, which is discussion and possible approval of the Silver Petricelli and Associates Swift House Needs Assessment. There. So, really, what I think the purpose, one of the purposes we need to get to today, seriously, is to look at what we want to do with the building. And actually settle in, you say, the meeting room, it's going to be office space, we're going to need some of that. Because part of what we're driving with our architectural studies is a conceptual plan, which is what Silver Petricelli gives us, and we've been moving that around a little bit. But we really, if we're going to take that and then decide what we're going to do, that's where we need to move it forward instead of getting out to move of changing a little this or maybe adjusting that. But really, we can decide, what do we want to do? What does the Swift House Task Force, what does the Board of Selectmen want to look at doing with this building? And it can be still, there's some discussions on upstairs and apartments versus downstairs and office spaces, but we know, having discussed with all the folks, personnel, both from Silver Petricelli and state historical folks about what you have to do, how big the area could be, and how many people can be in it, and so on. And today we're joined by our code people, and we really appreciate Joe and Stan for this part. So we really need to, I think, focus on that as part of it, and then we have to look to the next steps, because we can do this forever. I mean, we can go, and we really want to get to some kind of, I think, a way forward, right? And then get some decisions to people, and also we need to have to turn back to the task force. The plan of what we've given you, funding to get some things done, some of the painting and other stuff done. So that's part of what we need. I think the board needs to get back to the task force and have them take on how they're going to do with the money that's been put in.
Yeah, because I mean, I was actually gonna.
There's other things involved, but that's what I would like to get out of this meeting today.
Well, that's part of what I have on my list.
Good.
Yeah, especially because we're losing time getting contractors lined up to.
Exactly.
And my understanding is that there just has to be a contract and the work has to be started before the end of June. But we're already in a season when contractors are booked and lined up. And then there's $14,000 available for repairs and maintenance in those 2 categories. But I don't know, Joyce, maybe you can answer this. I don't have the full status of the budget for the Swift House for this year. And we have ongoing categories that have been there, when the building was open. But there's a lot of money that isn't spent because there isn't regular cleaning and there isn't, the heat is turned way down and so forth. So I don't know if there's funds in other categories that have not been expended and are not likely to be expended, that we could ask for permission from, I guess, the Board of Finance to transfer them to other categories.
We just overspend a line and then require to do a budget transfer getting that.
As long as we don't overspend the whole Swift.
Right, you just stay under.
Stay under the bottom
You stay under the
line.
line, and then, within that,
Go to the Board of Finance.
So if you could share with us, when you have a chance, how much might be available, what the status is in all the other categories, then we would have a better idea prioritizing the work that should be done.
Are you able to get access to that?
I can do that. Oh, it's upstairs. I don't have it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, if we're going, we can put that on in the next, but actually talk about Silver Petricelli's report and what we've heard and any questions, but so we do that and then if you want to
I have another related question of our guests here. We were told by our consulting architect that in order to do like a painting that requires sanding or whatever, that we have to do a lead paint test on the exterior, and there are a lot of places.
Yeah, the building is pretty old. It's
pre-seventies.
Yeah, well, but
Well, the work,
the-
most of the work was done after the seventies.
Yeah.
Painting.
Yeah, I mean, all the siding was replaced in the late seventies, right?
Oh,
Yeah, so I,
I don't know about 100% of it, but a lot of it was. So
Yeah.
that actually is a good question. There could be some that predate the 70s.
yeah,
Or
or
it
the
could
trim,
be
maybe
all-
some of the trim. Sure.
I mean,
Right, so
who-
yeah, it should probably do some, if it's gonna be a public building, so.
who do we go to get that testing done?
I don't know, I don't.
I mean, what do we even look for in the phone book and the yellow pages?
Is that something that the state would have a list, like
Like-
license,
Yeah.
lead paint testers or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have any guidance on where to look or who to ask, that would be really helpful. Yeah,
There's a group in Dartmouth that does that kind of work. Brian Gibson.
okay, that's great.
Let's see.
Thanks, Stan.
Yeah.
So I had asked Joe I shared the document with him and I asked him if he would be willing to talk to us about the revelation that we have to do all the work all at once. If we start doing something on the main level. Yeah. So
I'm not quite sure what's the use of this building gonna be? It looks like it's all office space.
Well, that's what we
we
have.
want to keep it the same as we've had.
Ongoing, there's no change of use.
Except for upstairs.
Well,
we really focus on the.
We
really
haven't
focus on
made
the
final
main
decisions. I mean, upstairs was an apartment.
Right.
We might choose to do that. It could be used, there's a larger room that could be used like for, an in-town workspace has been suggested.
We used it for storage for about
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah, that's what
Storage.
the present use is right now. I think right
Yeah.
now.
Storage.
Just storage.
Yeah, we used it after CM Peak had to leave.
Yeah.
We just turned it into storage.
So does that mean that you guys have it classified as storage for even the residential spot?
There is no.
There's no residential.
I mean, there's a whole apartment up there.
Yeah, but I think once CM,
Maybe once upon a time, far, far away.
Right, yeah.
But
So as soon as people start storing things in there, then it then becomes storage?
on the storage type space, it has no legal means of egress. The only way you can get out of there is to come down through the existing, first floor level.
and Stan, I think I remember when CM's family actually asked us to help get her out and get her into a safer place.
Yeah.
Changing the status of that second floor was part of it. So I think we finally officially done.
There is a second stairway in the back. It's not.
Have you ever gone down?
Oh, yes, I have.
So you've tiptoed across the attic floor, which is a storage space, to get to the stair that goes down the backside.
No, but what I was.
It has no legal means of egress.
No, if that stairway were reconstructed so it's to code and there's a railing there and
You'd have to make it a legal path to get out through there. The stairway that goes upstairs is what, 24 inches wide? From the first floor?
Yeah.
You-
the front stairway.
Yes.
Backwards, backwards.
Yes.
And that's gonna need to be closed off because you're going to have living space on the second floor. You'd have to show that you had a 1 hour fire separation between the living space upstairs and the business use downstairs. And that would include the walls, so it would be the ceiling assembly plus anything that supports the second floor. And then your alarm system would allow us to reduce that to a 1 hour level and have an alarm system in the downstairs that would notify the people in the upstairs that there was a problem and they needed to get out. But you've got a long way, I don't know, you would have to you could never rebuild the stairs that go down the back now because they're way too steep. So those stairs would have to cut way back in into
into that storage.
that addition space downstairs.
It would have to.
And you would have to see if you could meet the rise and run of a set of stairs to go there. And that would have to be a dedicated exit that would go to the outside.
So our architect did not want to even attempt those back stairs. He said that's not worth it. He talked to us about an exterior enclosed stairs that would be,
We have a plan here
yeah.
that you're putting an addition on to put
Well,
a set of
these
stairs.
are all ideas,
Yeah, these
you
are all
know, these
conceptual
are
plans.
just conceptual.
Yeah, yeah.
They gave us some
But
options.
I mean, if it's not a residential use upstairs and it's a business use, the issue that we would have is that if this is town and town business offices, if the recreation people wanted to move there, or you wanted to move some other aspect over to there to use those, you've got to make that accessible because of it's part of the town entity. You know, if you wanted to rent that out, you might get away with doing that by making the first floor totally accessible. And then you'd be able to have 3,000 square feet on the second floor of usable space. But you have to make the whole first floor accessible.
Right. And
When-
that's
when-
what they've told us.
When we met with the, SHPO.
State Historic Preservation Office
Right.
folks. we had
But
two
they
people
came
come.
last week and met with us, and they have verbally given us approval for state historic designation for the building. And one of the two people that came said specifically that in a historic building, as long as the main space, the main use, you know, the room that you walk into from the porch on the east side and the room that the chamber is now occupying, as long as those rooms are fully accessible, that not every place, you know, you can apply for variances. And then we would have, of course, an ADA compliant bathroom.
You'd have to apply to the state for that.
Yeah, but they said that they.
Modification, not
That-
variance.
They do that regularly so that you can retain some historic character to the woodwork and so forth. So,
But I would doubt that they would give you a modification to not have to separate the two spaces. If you're going to make, if you're gonna go residential on the upper floors, I don't.
They didn't know, they didn't,
Give you a
we were mostly focused on the main.
On the main level,
Yeah.
by separate, you mean the entrance?
Fire code.
fire rate that I talked about,
Yeah.
that you legally, the least amount of fire separation you could have would be, the code calls for 2 hours. But then there's a clause that says, I'll give you a 1 hour separation if you install a full alarm system in the building, so that if something occurs other than on the residential floor, those people are notified so that they have the ability to get out.
I just don't feel that we've been focusing on residential as an option.
Well, it's one
Well,
of the,
I think it's something we need to deal with it eventually. But to me, I just want to get the first floor open, you know,
I don't think this is something that we would jump into tomorrow, you know, the priorities, as we've told Silver Tetracelli, are an ADA compliant entrance and ADA compliant bathroom. And then one of the entrance suggestions has been to come in at the back of the building where you could grade and you wouldn't have to have this much of a rise.
That was the only place we could see that you could put a handicap ramp that made any
Yeah.
sense.
I think we all.
And then if, you know, Marge has told us that historically, there was an opening between the chamber room and the main room, let's call it. And we would open up that wall again so that the ADA, anybody coming in the ADA access can come through. to either of those two main rooms without hindrance.
On this wall, they
Go down there, yeah.
Yeah,
it's like they take the other door out here too.
and it used to
This
be
is
that way
well,
when, yeah, originally it was.
Yeah, that small room that the chamber uses was the kitchen in the old apartment and it opened into the big room, so. Wasn't an apartment, it was somebody's.
Yeah.
Houses.
To the bathroom there, you had a question about the kitchen floor.
Well, we
That's
talked to
mine.
them about the kitchen, because they gave us a pretty grand plan of turning the back room that the garden club used to use for storage into a kitchen.
I don't think any of us are.
Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, it's.
But they said if we have a kitchen, it's gotta be accessible. So we would essentially, if we don't do a kitchen, we have to rip out all the stuff that's in there. According to what
Well,
they
we,
said.
I thought,
Well, it depends on your definition of a kitchen.
yeah.
I mean, I do already have a facility in town that you can rent out that has a full kitchen. If what you're looking for is something that you can make coffee and have refrigeration and wash things off. And you would have to see even maybe something to heat stuff so that somebody wanted to bring in, if you wanted a caterer to come in and cater something, they could keep things hot. But nowadays, most of those caterers bring their own hot boxes and roll everything in if they can and serve on those.
I was thinking more like the kitchen we have here.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I don't think any of us thought we need a full kitchen there. You know, we're not giving cooking lessons.
You could have a microwave, but probably not a hot top like they have. Up in Tykee.
So designating this as a meeting space versus an office space or a gathering space?
Well, we would need to sit down and take the measurements. If the intent is to have meetings and things here, you'd start off as an assembly space. And you would measure the room. You're gonna set it up for either chair seating like you have here, or table and chair seating, maybe like you have here. See what the occupant load is. And if that occupant load, which it probably will be, is under 50 people, then the code says that it's no longer an assembly space, but a business use.
It's under, wait, if it's so it's under 50 becomes.
Under 50 people,
Business, not.
then it wouldn't be assembly any longer. It would become a business use.
If there's
The
no,
advantage to that is I technically only have to have one legal means of egress. Because nowadays, when I get to 50 people, you have to have two means of egress to get out.
well, right now we have 6 entrances to the ground floor, so I think that should be
Well,
covered.
some of those aren't very good.
Pardon me?
But some of those are not very compliant.
So that, and also the use of a or requirement for a toilet room, whatever, would be under 50 would be what?
Yeah. Under 50 would be great because on almost every classification, they figure the bathroom requirements based on occupant load. And most of those start off at 65 and go up. So if you had 50, an occupant load here that was 50 or less, you could get away with one, or even if you were over, you could write to the state and ask for a modification to allow you to have one full handicap bathroom. Excuse me.
And
So,
there are exceptions. If you're gonna get a historic designation, you'll get some relief there too.
but I had proposed, and it isn't in the architect's plan yet, but I think they should consider it, that we have a second, accessible, not ADA accessible, but a second, toilet on the second floor off the landing at the top of the stairs.
Not if you don't,
Change.
not if you're not gonna, if you're gonna continue to use it just as storage. That would be foolish to waste that kind of money, because we're not gonna let people go up the 24-inch wide stairway.
Well, the plans call for widening the stairs and making it, code compliant.
Yeah, but you just said you were looking, I don't understand it, folks. One person is telling me we're staying on the first floor only, and you're telling me that, no, we're doing the second floor, so.
Well, we want to do
you
it
need
in
to decide-
phases.
you need to
We
decide
want to do it
whether-
in phases.
Yeah, we would not do it all at once unless,
Mhm.
somebody swoops down and gives us a bundle of money. So,
I wouldn't bother with it then to start with,
right,
because,
no, this is eventual, this is not
oh,
first.
yes, it would be wise to have something, if you're gonna do offices, to have a bathroom on the second floor.
Right,
And they have shown that.
they're already,
They even shown a handicap bathroom on the second floor,
which we don't need.
which you don't need, because
No,
unless you're gonna put in an elevator.
no,
Which it was in the plans for $400,000.
right.
Well, all right, but so, the issue of doing things in phases, this, where totality, tie in your electrical, update your electrical, you have your HVAC and so on like that. I mean, you can do it, and cap it and then add to it, I guess, as you go along, correct? I mean, that's,
Some of that would be the only thing to an advantage or a cost saving advantage, I would believe, is that if you could decide that the second floor is going to be this, you could make provisions as you were working on the first floor, make provisions to get plumbing, to get some other things up through it to that, up some panels and things like that, up through to that level, so that you're not having to disturb the level that you've already finished, you know?
yeah.
One question I had is, once we start, like, we definitely want to have a bathroom on the first floor, because we understand that we have to have an accessible bathroom. But once we start like ripping down the plaster, can we preserve any of the plaster, or are we gonna have to like rip all of it
We're
down?
not saying you have to tear the plaster down, the
Okay,
plaster is plaster that is good.
Good for
Not,
Solid.
it has a 1 hour fire rating to it. So in cases where you have that, it would be, the issue is gonna become is that my memory is not the greatest, but where you have exposed timbers and stuff. Depending upon, not when you do just the first floor, but in the future, when you do something to the second floor, depending on what that use winds up being. If you have to have a fire separation, you might have to encapsulate some of those exposed beams and things that you may not want to have.
So,
Maybe,
yeah.
depends on what your use is.
so, all right, going back to the first floor and the second floor, what are the issues if we do the first floor? What would have to be done to the second floor fire ratings or nothing, no, safety system, just leave it open as if it's an open attic?
We would continue to allow it to be storage, accessed only by the,
If we wanted to open it up, the large room, so that it was available for people to,
on the first floor.
now on the second floor. If it was available for people as a workspace, an office, then,
So we do the stairs.
no, okay, no, but the,
No,
yeah,
then it gets to be involved.
yeah. But do we have to do anything other than the stairs? If it's not a residential space?
You'd have to be sure that we had,
Well, if you're talking about municipal offices,
No, just
No.
rental space for if somebody just needs a office out of
oh,
there.
rental,
There are those,
we'd have to again, start at the beginning. What size is the room? What's it gonna be used for? And under that occupancy classification, we would start off, how many people can I put in here? That's going to determine if I can do that with one exit or if I have to have two exits.
What is the limit on that?
What do you want to use it for?
Well, if we used it for a communal office space, you know, people that,
If it is just an, if it's just an office,
yeah.
then office space is based on one person for every 100 square feet.
Is there a difference in terms of the code, in terms of whether it's an office for municipality or an office for a business?
For for accessibility, there is.
Ah.
If you look in the code, it says there's exceptions for the second story. If the first story is accessible and the second, you know, the building is under 3,000 square feet, then the second story doesn't need to be accessible. And with the exception, other than municipal offices, I think airport terminals, there's about 4 or 5 buildings that do need to be accessible. And municipal buildings,
And the other thing that's going to happen is the town of Kent is going to occupy the first floor. And I'm going to rent out a space on the second floor to Marty, to have a business office there for himself.
so
I now have to provide a dedicated means of egress for him to come off of that floor to the outside without having to go back downstairs.
which I guess is that's what they drew here.
Right.
The addition.
That was the addition, the stairway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
So
that was
that's-
only if it was residential.
Well, residential business, anything not municipally.
If you're going to rent the second floor to different people, other than the town of Kent taking over the first floor, I have to provide a means of egress for those people on the second floor to get out without having to come through your space.
Now, as you say, it's always, it applies to me for modification.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact if you get historic designation and you explain the situation, who knows? They might give you the mod, so, where you don't have to have it accessible.
But it's not like, I mean, there will be different groups using the ground floor other than, I mean, it won't be for.
Doesn't matter who you let use it.
Oh.
If I'm gonna hold any town functions there, then the building on that level needs to be accessible.
But what if it's,
Yeah.
we were thinking before, for instance, when we were in there, there was a prayer group that met weekly, there was a meditation group that met, there was an art club that met. They're not town functions.
They're not town functions, but
There's
there
some-
are town functions that are held there.
Yeah.
Just like the community house. You rent the community house out to a number of different venues who use the building, but also the town of Kent uses that. Because the town of Kent uses it, then everything has to be accessible.
So like the Republican and Democratic town committees that are there on election night or something
They're
like
town.
that. It's town, yeah.
Town entities.
Really helpful, all the stuff you guys have said. It sort of,
I mean,
it sort of helps, like, it helps me understand some of the things that they were saying because they didn't have the same knowledge of the building that you guys do. And the one thing I'm like, I got kind of hung up on was the idea that the entire, every floor, the main floor has to be all level. Like, there can't be any up and down with the.
You could have ramps inside of the space.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, God, are we gonna have to rip
You-
up
you
all
just-
the floors?
You just have to remember that, you know, if I'm doing 2 or 3 inches from one level to the next, that's pretty simple to do. I can do that in a couple of feet. But if I have a 4 or 5 or 6 inch step, now I have to create quite a, long rampway inside.
It's not that much of a difference between.
You know, my dad's been dealing with a wheelchair, and it's like amazing how just 2 inches can be a.
Right,
pain
but
in the neck.
I don't know.
I got quite educated when my mother-in-law was in a wheelchair. I had to take her around. It was a good education.
But there are a lot of like little tiny ramps that they make now.
yeah,
Yeah.
build them, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't, I've spent a lot of time in that building. I don't know that there's that much of.
there is.
Okay.
I would-
You just don't pay attention.
Yeah.
You're only allowed like a half inch.
Yeah.
Half inch.
Yeah, you're only allowed a half inch.
Right, but if there's a
threshold.
a ramp that could be put over
Yeah.
those differences would be easy. The only problem is that, yeah. Just that room upstairs, but we're not dealing with it.
It all depends on how fast you go. It's either a speed bump or a speed.
Kind of like those humongous speed bumps in Sharon now.
Well, they're only humps. They're only speed humps. We're guaranteed we could go 30. But if you're doing more than 10, you want to hang on to your.
Yeah. So true. Well, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate you guys coming in and talking to us.
Any other questions?
I'm pretty good.
If you can remember who that person is, that contractor at Torrington for checking, the lead paint issue.
Yep.
I-
Superior Industries, Southington, Connecticut.
What is it called?
Superior Industries, Southington, Connecticut. 860-620-1133 is the only number that I have, but there, somewhere I have another number for people in Torrington, but I just don't, I thought I had it in here, but I don't.
They do the library and shit?
Yeah, but what
Oh,
year?
there it is. The other that you might try calling is Berkshire Environmental. I think there are people out of Torrington.
Okay.
860-482-6399. And I need to clarify that I'm not recommending any of these people. There are a number of other people who do that kind of.
Did we ask enough about because one of the things they said is we need to basically replace all of the electrical wiring. Would you guys require that? Like, if we,
Unless it's unsafe.
okay. So like, if we do the bathroom on the first floor, you guys aren't gonna make us like
That would have to go to be code compliant.
the bathroom?
Yeah.
But would all the other rooms in the first floor have to be changed?
Well, that depends if you're staying in a business use.
Right, so let's clarify what we've got with Silver Petrocelli right here, which is a conceptual architecture view of different uses, really, right? So if we did a construction architectural, right, for construction, they would have to look at everything for code compliant, is that correct? That would be the recommendation. If, when we go to actually building, it could be building off this plan, we'd have to build off another architectural plan process to do that. So everything's in compliance with ADA, accessibility, whatever they call it. But also with code for electrical and plumbing and so on, correct? So there's another phase that an architect, engineering firm would have to do to build us towards actually building plans.
Yeah.
Right.
The only thing that would catch you is you may find the age of that, and I don't remember the age of the wiring in there may be such that you have ungrounded receptacles and stuff. If you have that type of issue, then you would need to upgrade that wiring and stuff.
But that's just where the receptacle is, or is it all of it?
Wherever that receptacle goes, so it may go around the room, but then all the way back to the panel box on the opposite side of the house.
Can you tell that by looking at the outlets, or do you have, or is it by looking at the panel
We'll
box?
go around and test them.
Will be action.
You could have any one of your electricians that you have here, just in the town of Kent, go through that and review that for you and see what was there. If there's any old knob and tubing wiring, which is just bare wires that they used to run.
And you want to change that up.
I mean, this has gone through 2 renovations.
Yeah,
I can't imagine they would have
and
that.
most recently in, pretty much full renovation in the 70s, right? Late 70s, or
Was it good?
No, I mean, you never gutted anything here.
No.
Never gutted the interior?
Nothing.
Okay.
Not that I, well, not my time here, much longer than my time, but I'm.
Okay.
We've got a photo album that's actually on Joyce's desk. I'm gonna go pick it up again, but that had a lot of photographs taken at the time the town took it over. And I think that'll probably answer some of our questions.
Well, it should certainly show us whether the siding was.
Well, that's what I mean.
Done, because if the siding was done in the late seventies, is there a time period when the no lead paint?
77, I think.
Seventy.
But interior wise, if you're gonna start ripping plaster down and stuff, you gotta get,
Yeah.
test.
No, I hope we don't have to do that.
No, the question is, something I'm concerned about now is there are a lot of areas on the outside where the paint is peeling. And we'd like to maintain that, but we were told that we should check for lead paint. Because if they have to sand it to paint it properly, then if it's lead paint, it all. has to
Most
be
reputable
remediated.
painting company, most, would do a check on that, for the paint before they got standard or scraping, for their own.
It would be good to hire an environmental company to come in and go through it, because you could have flooring
Yeah.
in there that is asbestos, you know?
Yeah, especially tile, I think.
They'll take some of your plaster and test it, because you may even have plaster in the old, lead, asbestos in the old
Asbestos.
plaster.
The coloring it. Figure out whose horse it was that they donated the horse hair. I learned to do that.
Well, you people are way ahead of where I was earlier today. I was in a library that doesn't even have a bathroom. So,
Oh, my God, man.
Didn't realize they existed.
All right, well, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
David.
Where'd they put the speed bumps in Sharon?
Hilltop Road.
Oh, right.
Every time I go to
Really?
the center pool, it's like, go slow.
That's a lot.
You definitely don't go slow, because when you go over those, you're doing more than 10 miles an hour.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
Very helpful.
Dan, did you know Oogie Hoist Rat?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know he died?
Oh, yes, yep, I do that. I'm going to that. We lived, when the boys built the florist, we were their upstairs tenants.
Oh, wow.
And we used to play the most wickedest, at nighttime, we would play the most wickedest croquet games in the backyard. You could ever believe.
I missed him.
Good
luck to you.
Sorry to surprise you with that. I just had a feeling they could sort of.
Which is that?
I invited them tonight.
Oh,
to tell Marty, because I wasn't sure they were asking.
Well, it's nice to know that, you know. it's one
I'm sure you
hour,
probably-
but 2 hours operation, that's a lot of different money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was the alarm system.
Didn't know that plaster was considered.
Yeah, some of that stuff is free.
Not to that either.
Okay, so back to, what are we gonna do? Is this a assembly area? Is it going to be,
I think we gotta
Storage
keep
area.
it, we gotta keep it under 50.
well, that's gonna happen anyway. We can never go over it. There's no.
I just don't, you don't wanna have it as an assembly.
All right,
because
look
it
at-
triggers.
Okay,
So
so is the use going to be just for gatherings and so on, and storage?
If there's no, you know, I wasn't really clear, and I don't know if we actually asked this question directly. If essentially there's no change of use from how it was used before, do we have all new guidelines that we have to do? I mean,
If we want to continue with storage, which is what it's rated as now, storage, that's fine. Then you're asking the town to become storehouse for garden club, potentially chamber, and whoever other people want to store things here, but they can't meet there. They can't do anything else until,
that doesn't, that's not very useful.
I don't think the
But-
town wants to be a storage shed.
But I mean,
Storage shed, right?
yeah, I mean,
To turn into it. So we have to look at, but again, it gets back to what this recommendation of the Swift House Task Force and the Board of Selectmen, what do we want to say? We, to the town, we are looking at doing this with that property. Right? And here are,
Yeah.
you know, the architectural backgrounds of a conceptualization of that. And some of the, you know, tasks we'll have to do, and then do your definition of upstairs, downstairs, leaving it alone as storage, putting meeting or assembly or whatever downstairs. Storage. That's what we have to
I
make
think
that.
we just have to be careful of the use of the word assembly, that's all.
Yeah.
it could be a meeting space, but just so we don't.
Meeting space for less than 50 people.
Right, but I'm just saying, you know, maybe we can come up with a different word besides assembly, because that seemed to me that
That's
both of
a
those guys said
category.
that once you,
It's a category of.
it is an official category, business is under 50 people, but can you have people gathering in business space was my question.
Yeah, I mean, you can have people gathering in those spaces.
Yeah.
So,
It's just, you can't have more than 50 people.
right,
When
Right,
Stan
because-
came to the building and met with us there, one of the things he said was, over 50, you have to have a second bathroom.
Right.
That's
So
why
we should-
I was,
I
yeah,
think-
that's why I was saying, I think one of the things we should put in the plan, there's already a bathroom upstairs at the top of the stairs.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. If you're going to, okay, so if we're considering that process down the line, even to have a second bathroom and an access, we're gonna blow out the stairs and make it 3 foot or 32, I think is the minimum, whatever, and put it up there. Are we competing with the community house?
No,
For
it's a very,
for assemblies and?
it's a very
gathering
different
space?
scale and use of space.
I would think the town would say, yes, you are. We already have a facility that will take a large number of people. Why does the town need two?
can I speak to that? Because we've been dealing with that with our Christmas party and conversations we've had with people around town. I think a lot of people feel that the attraction of the Swift House is because it's small. So if you just want to have a small family gathering or a small club meeting there, the community house is too cavernous. It's too big. It's too open. It's not really, it's not intimate. And I think having the option for people in town is really good.
I agree.
Caterers have
I
told
totally
me that too.
I totally agree.
Yeah, caterers have said it's a perfect size for something
Yeah.
like,
Community house is just really hard to make it cozy.
yeah.
We've struggled with that for the Christmas party for a couple of years. We finally.
What Christmas party?
The historical
Okay,
society.
but now we're
Christmas
talking about a private organization
Yeah,
utilizing
yeah,
the
yeah.
town being responsible for cost in building for upwards of $2 million, to say the total outside for another organization to have a Christmas party.
No, but,
And
no,
I'm
but,
not- I'm a member of town, and I would not agree with that.
but the thing is that I think we need to have a place, we said originally, and the people told us they wanted to continue the uses that were done before.
Right.
And most of those uses that were done before were small gatherings, small, yeah. I mean, the Historical Society Christmas party
That was
has
too big. It was-
pretty much outgrown the Swift House.
But the other
you know,
clubs that met there,
Yeah.
there's I can't remember the names
The
of some. of them.
Informal Club,
It's now
the
longer.
Garden
It's no
Club.
longer. Garden Club is not
the.
as functional as it used to be. So,
Those clubs don't exist anymore, Marty, but
and the library is building a $6 million+ facility on their own that they're going to open up to organizations to be there too. So again, are we going to go in competition, just space-wise, with what the library will be offering to the community for gathering spaces and so on, meeting spaces? Okay, and that's already funded privately.
and how big is that space?
That's gonna get rid of close to 100 people or more or less, and so they have some other exhibit spaces and so on. I mean, look at their design. Right?
But that's what I'm saying.
It's another big space, big hall,
Yeah,
the old
yeah.
firehouse, second floor is gonna be a big
Yeah.
hall.
That's what I'm thinking. And it's what I've heard from so many people over the years, that they really like the Swift House. Because it's for small family
Are
gatherings.
they gonna like the Swift House for $2 million?
But we don't have to do it all at once.
We don't.
But if they start down that road, you have to fix that place up. You're gonna have to eventually put money into the HVAC, your heating systems, update your electrical. Now, if we just want to do the bottom floor only and only make it a couple of rooms available to anyone, and then that center hallway, and that gives you with the ADA accessible bathroom
That's
and
all I was
entryway.
thinking about.
Well,
Just
that would
Well-
be the initial goal.
Okay, that's the initial, but like you said, you can't just say that the iceberg is only this big. Because if the cost down the line, the eventual, and Dan, you're one that keeps saying, well, mention, so if you're gonna do that, then you're gonna have to open up that whole Pandora's box to having, this is what it's gonna cost eventually overall for that building space there. Where's the parking? I mean, we haven't even looked at outside. Now, I'm not worried about, I like the idea of an outside space, but
Yeah.
where's parking? We talked about that. I don't think you can park on the road. You can park on that. We're gonna have sidewalks on the park there,
I stopped on the way
So
Over
there's
here
other
today,
things we have to look at.
and there
Just
were
make
like
sure-
6 or 8 cars that are just parked on the other side of Swift Lane, I mean, it's never been a problem in the past. There are enough places in town to park that people walk there. I mean, when the Historical Society had their holiday party there every year, there were a lot of people there and nobody ever complained about parking.
But back to the use of the second floor that's gonna bump up the costs substantially, could that be something that the taxpayers would then revisit when we get ready to do it? I don't wanna shut the whole thing down because we might use the second floor someday. I think there's a lot of interest in this house. I'm biased, obviously, but.
Yeah, obviously, but I think the surveys that you guys read before had no cost associated. It was just, would you like it to be used before, would you enjoy doing it? And that was 18.
Yeah, I think it was 18.
Okay, so now we're 6 years later.
No, it wasn't, it was later.
It's somewhere in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
But so,
I'm
but if
just,
we,
okay, so, all right, let me finish. I'm just saying, so back to what we want to recommend, and this is what I'm trying to get to as a board, to be collegial, is what we need to say. This is going to be a couple of office spaces with a, use their term, assembly area, or an area that will be used for under 50 people, 50 people or under. And that's what we're looking to do right now with it. That's what you, and then with that, there's the price. There are other, you can say the rest is storage space. At this point, we're only gonna make sure we keep the integrity for the historical perspective of the outside exterior and then ADA accessibility. That's what I would recommend we approach the town with.
Yeah,
Right,
that
I'm
would be
not that
phase
far off, I
one.
don't think from what
no,
you're saying,
I think that.
but I want to
yeah,
know that that we say,
But I want to say that we want to make the first floor accessible. We want to have a bathroom. And we want to,
Reopen.
we want to reopen the building. But I think I hear what you're saying, that we should be open and say, yes, we need to do, the second phase needs to look at this, the stairs to the second floor, because
okay,
the
so
second floor cannot be used until we fix the stairs.
it's going to stay in
Yeah.
space now, because eventually when we, the board, not the advisors, but the board agrees to accept what we've been given, it becomes public knowledge, and you know, people gotta dig into it, they go, look at the price, you know, they're not gonna look at the one,
I
two, three,
mean, I
four,
think
five.
they
one.
need to sharpen their pencil a lot.
Well, of course, but then we can, the presentation has to be, here's what we're doing, here's what the recommendation is, here's the combined cost for these things. Two, or if we do the back room, so it would be 2 office spaces and then a central meeting area, right, in the middle, or the beginning, where you would come in, that would be the
Gallery, the
the
meeting.
gallery, whatever we want to call it. Would be the assembly, right, because you're looking down where
Don't
they
say
want to put
assembly.
the.
Meeting.
Don't say assembly.
No, you have to say assembly area, that's assembly is under.
No, we don't want to change the use to assembly because that's a whole new category of
Meeting.
code.
Just call it meeting
It's called a
space.
meeting space, yeah.
Yeah.
But right now it's only storage, we're gonna change it.
No, right now it's a meeting space. That's what it's been. The area that's in front
Is business right now.
Business is there, that's their.
That's office.
So we said it was storage space.
Second floor is storage.
Only storage.
First floor is business, which is mixed use of offices and
Okay,
meetings.
okay, I thought it was only for storage right now.
No.
That's the way it's on.
just the second floor.
That's right.
Yeah.
I misheard that.
You know, it's
Okay,
also,
okay, great, yeah.
it's also been used for exhibitions, you know, the historical.
That goes
society-
under the meeting space.
Right.
That's all, catch-all.
So I think the main question that I have still left to be answered is, what are we gonna do about the chamber space? Are we gonna go with the idea of opening up that area, or are we gonna leave it as is? Because,
Oh, I think it should-
yeah,
I
open
think
the
it should
passage.
definitely be open. And that would allow the.
So then that would be what they're recommending with the long entryway into the ADA space coming around the back that way, or just, we could open it up anyway, we could open it through that
Oh,
closet.
it should be open.
If we use the front porch area, if we're gonna go back to it originally when it was recommended is the ADA coming before, still.
The east
open that
porch.
way. East porch. It's still gonna open up that.
Yeah, I
into
mean,
that.
is there-
You would want to open that.
Is there a door there, or is it just open? That was one.
Yeah,
It's.
If it
should
goes
be
to a wall.
A folding door or a sliding door so that you could
Right, they're
use the
also looking at
spaces
that.
separately or together.
There's no door there now, it's just another one wall. That's where you're asking.
Right, yeah, I'm just asking if we opened it up again, what are they proposing?
Oh, just what they have to.
They do not have doors there.
You just have open space.
In the plan that we did prior to that, it had folding doors so that you could use the two spaces separately, or you could use them together. But they would stay open most of the time. Likely. And the kitchen could either be
Again,
here,
thank you.
no, kitchen, the serving area.
Kitchenette,
Yeah,
Right,
the
yeah.
kitchenette.
Your sink, like we have, it's the
Yeah,
sink.
kitchenette.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Plug in
could be,
coffee pot.
it could either be, if they took this wall down here, it could be in here. And I think there's enough turning space there.
Where it is now, couldn't it? I mean, if you really clean that up.
No,
The
well,
first plan had it
you know
where it
what they-
was, and they expect, they
what
extend.
they don't have here that they need, they don't have a coat room and they don't have a place for folding chairs for
Sure.
if you're having a meeting with more than people sitting around the table. And I think that should go in this area here. They've already taken part of the wall out so that this is ADA opening.
Where did they, what did they do with the place that has the chairs stored now?
But I think if you took this door out and abbreviated that wall and you just had a counter over here with under counter, with a sink and another counter with refrigerator and a hot tub or whatever, microwave, that there's enough turning around space here if this is the symbol for turning around. That you could,
Now, that's the symbol for a door.
no, this is the symbol for turning around space for the ADA bathroom. It's this little round hole. That's how much
Yeah.
space you need to
Sure.
turn your wheelchair. So they moved.
But didn't Tim say there's not enough room in here?
I don't think he looked or tried. I mean, he's got a door here. We don't need a door. You know, if there's just a 24-inch counter, which is the amount of space for kitchen counters and under counter storage. I think I couldn't find my tracing. But I think this will fit in there. So it could either be here, or it could be a counter here with the old cabinets above. And it could, you can have your coffee thing, maker, have your refrigerator. It could be either one of those spaces, but
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Let's get back to 10,000 foot level. You're down.
Yeah.
So I think what everyone is coming to the conclusion is that we're gonna make this a business office area.
Where we can have small gatherings.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
business meeting.
Right. So,
Meeting place.
right, business area. So this center area now, where you come in the door and I'll have a few. That would be, we don't, these are conceptual plans, so we don't have to change, that will be changed. When we actually get any kind of construction, you'll have 7 different sets of plans and so on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was to left, it's a
Drawings
large
and
office area.
specifications.
Pardon me?
This is just a floor plan.
Right, exactly. So if that's what we want to do, then let's stick to that right now. And then the specifics about whatever would happen, if we get the idea, the ability to actually go and do it, then we can get down to, okay, this is how the kitchenette should be and this is how the
Yeah.
connection should be and so on. We don't need that right today.
Now,
Okay.
if they want feedback, because they're gonna revise this.
Well, we're almost at the end of their money, so they're not gonna do a whole lot more, because it's only 15 grand, and they put the conceptual plan down, so at this point,
They said in their contract
They
that
can
they
do-
do 2 whole plans.
right, and they've done.
Well, they've
They did the
revised.
original and then they did the revision,
They've revised.
so I don't think we have much left
Okay.
in that. I mean, they may agree to do some sketches for us for presentation, and that's not hard to do that, quickly moving numbers around.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like,
think
we
we could probably do
don't,
that,
we're
so.
in agreement, we don't want this big kitchen in the back,
Exactly,
so we don't want it saying
So,
kitchen in the
yeah,
back.
exactly, that's what I'm saying, so yeah, so
Yeah.
presentation, when we do, give it to the public, we could say,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they'd probably do that.
The one thing I still think we need to talk about is where we want the accessible entrance. Because the
Looking at
STIPO
this-
folks they had interesting things to say about that. So
Yeah,
remind me what they
Lift it.
said?
you could put a lift here, but then you'd have to raise the whole
So they won't actually get
area
it
to
forced.
get in the entrance.
Yeah.
Or, looking at this, there's stairs here, this appears to be a landing. Why couldn't you flip it and put it over here against, so that you still keep this area? And then there's, there could be a pathway and just have the stairs on this side and this, because this just seems to eat up the whole.
Because it has to, they've done it as 1 in 20, so.
Yeah,
and
but-
yeah, the ramp has to be
Yeah.
very sort of
Yeah.
long to be able to not
But
have railings.
it could be 1 in 20 with the ramp over here and the stairs on this side.
Yeah, but you don't want the person in the wheelchair to have to turn. You want to make it a straight shot if you can, to go into the door.
And people, yeah, with,
Well, if there's this big a landing, doesn't seem
It's
to
not
be.
easy to maneuver a wheelchair.
you know,
So you want to make it as easy as possible. But I mean, the thing that Shippo said about, it's not great to have people coming in the back.
great.
Because
And
it
they
makes
feel that-
people who are dealing with an accessible entrance feel like second class
Again, even if
citizens.
it's
So-
only one handicap spot or keep minimum spot, which was part of what we said before anyway, and someone else is gonna have to park across the street. And because my mother-in-law's dragging a tank, she's not in a wheelchair, but she's gonna have to drag a tank
Right.
up all the way around the building, all the way up, and then in the back.
So doing it on the east porch.
Right, going back.
Yeah, whether we
Don't
do it
remember, I
as
don't
a-
have that plan. Sorry,
Whether
but-
we do it as a ramp or whether we do it with a lift.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I did take a look at some of the lifts, like a real quick thing. They're not very pretty.
You know, they're very bulky, you know, we had a lift, we have a lift in the church in
Yeah.
Cornwall.
Yeah,
So they're,
I
They're not very
didn't
pretty.
design for the ramp on the porch.
yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, they had to obviously, I don't have that plan, I forgot to grab that one. But when they brought the ramp up to the porch, they had lifted that lift, or the porch up to the threshold. They didn't leave that lift, they couldn't, obviously, so going back and re-looking at it, I think conceptually, I'm more in favor of that than would be in the back. Whatever we have to do to make it easier.
I mean, this would be a lot less expensive because,
It would.
yeah,
It would be less expensive and it would be less sort of intrusive because you wouldn't have
and then you'd still have,
railings and
you'd
stuff.
still have the view and with the trees and things out here and not, I mean, and if this whole thing is opened up, then you're coming into the main space. I don't know.
And I'm intrigued again, we go back to just agreeing on the use of it. And then we can get to some of the specific, because again, when we actually go to the building plans,
You know, but we have to decide on the entrance.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
We really would. But this is something
You know, probably.
I don't know if we actually have to do that. or-
Yeah,
I
because
do
we
think
have to
that's
have a plan
important
because-
because that's one of the two big items.
Well, the ADA, that we
The-
come up with the
the
ADA
ADA.
plan, right,
Yeah.
correct.
But I think the real basic thing is what are we using the first floor for? Is that what you're saying, Marty?
Well, that's it, yeah, if we're gonna stick with
We
the
know
first
we're
floor.
gonna
it's-
get ADA access to it, we have
Right,
to
so
figure out.
I'm kind of
what
down,
those
but if you want to
requirements, But we need to
make a
agree.
decision on that, then let's make a decision, make a recommendation.
I'm just very torn. because I really am.
I know.
because- I mean, I love the porch. I love the way it looks.
Yep,
I love, and I love the fact that people, that is like the main entrance, even though
It
there
is.
is a main entrance.
Right, well, they both are. People
Yeah.
come in both of those. And I also think because it is such an old building, we have to make exceptions sometimes about what people want to do. So I'm not explaining it very well. I think it's okay to say you're gonna have to go a little bit further to get into the back of it. I hear what Shippo's
The
saying.
majority, I mean, our population is aging.
That's a good
And
point.
I have I'm having firsthand experience now about trying to maneuver an elderly person.
So from your
into-
father's perspective, which would be the best thing to do? That would be the best way to get him into the building? Or your
The
mother-in-law?
porch
Yeah.
ramp.
Yeah.
The east
Yeah.
porch.
Yeah.
Because it's less actual walking. If you're walking, it's less having to.
There's
push
still
It's
a
longer,
porch.
it's deeper, and you have to make
It's not
turns
less
because the
walking.
grade is so much higher.
Yeah, that's true too.
It depends on where you put the handicap parking, whether or not it adds additional walking. The intent is that the handicap parking is going to be close to the ramp to the back. They're not gonna make them park over by the firehouse and wheel across.
well,
The parking one is kind of the
Parking was
front of the
like-
barn, like.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're almost in the middle between the two entrances where the parking is gonna be. It's really not further either way. And I think saying they're coming in the back door all depends upon what you do once they walk in the building. Nobody's saying, because even the porch entrance isn't the main door, and so they're walking in the side. So I think walking in is a perception of how you design the building once they're in there. And you can make the back, if you're walking into a nice meeting space there, just as welcome and inviting, and not like, oh, we're seeing you in the back door because it's, the only way we could get you in the building. I think it's all that gets taken into consideration. And so I think you're dealing with semantics right now that, as Marty's trying to tell you, you're agreeing that you want to move forward, but you also haven't decided, and you don't need to decide today, but just doing the bathroom, when you do the bathroom, you're gonna have to, replace a window. So then are you gonna replace all the windows? You're gonna, take down the wall, so you're gonna start insulating. How far are you gonna carry the insulation? So when you say you wanna do phases, Lynn, it's kind of, well, where do you stop in the phase? Because you want the outside envelope to be, updated so that your energy is efficient. You want windows that are gonna work so that when you do upgrade the HVAC and we have air conditioning in the summer, it's not just going out those 17, 20 windows or whatever. So you have to decide when you say phases, what are you including in that phase? So, so to just say, we can do the bathroom for 50,000 and the ramp for 100,000 or whatever those numbers are. You're not just doing those, because once you start touching one wall to insulate it, just on the other side of the interior wall, you're not going to insulate it. I mean, that's not really how it works. I mean, we all kind of have a basic understanding of how all that works. So I think you guys need to look at the entire big picture, and where you put the kitchen at right now and where you put the entrance right now isn't really the details that you need to be working on. You need to decide, are you really prepared to present it to the town to say, this is what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it.
Well, I think I agree with you on a lot of that stuff, but the entrance is kind of key. I mean, because we've been told we need an accessible entrance to open the building.
But I think either way that you put it on the building, it's gonna be equal distance from the handicap parking, relatively close where it looked on that. I mean, I don't have a map in front of me. It's probably somewhere within there, or they can tweak it to move it closer to the back door. So you're not wheeling the person. I understand you don't want to have to wheel them, all extra, way around the building. But if the parking is right there, it's gonna be an entrance. So that makes a difference.
A lot of turns and landings, and if it's here, it's pretty much a straight run.
Here being
The back.
the back is a straight run.
Yeah.
You've already got the good solid parking there. Yes, you'd have to rework the grade a little bit. But I think that makes a lot of sense.
It does mean we would be using that big room in a different way, though. The one that the chamber is in.
Yeah, we should.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that,
Because
that's
that's
in terms of use.
That's too valuable a
Well,
space.
again, if we're doing business side, which is not this conceptualization, it's not, let's go back to saying, if you're gonna store the town center, use their basement, I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if that's what if you want to actually have an office and put a few things in the back where your desk and that's okay, but it can't be street storage, because that, just takes.
So let's just say,
So, I mean, actually,
Because the chamber room, one of the uses that we've been talking about off and on, not this task force necessarily, but the town needs sort of a welcoming center. And that might, if we have the handicap entrance come into that back room, the chamber's room, and make that be a welcoming center, then that's a.
well, okay, that.
but we don't have an entity that wants to run a
Exactly. And we just
So I don't
got
wanna
laid out.
put the
Center.
cart before the horse,
Yeah.
assuming that we will be able to have an entity.
Yeah, what's in the building right now, we can, again, have some more discussions on, and if you could, but right now, for today,
Okay.
because I do have a couple of things I gotta get through today. Let's get to the business. I'm not gonna make you.
And, yeah,
Sorry
it's
about
too
that.
late. So I just want to say, one of the things that are, Joe and Stan mentioned multiple times is if it's municipal, it sort of simplifies things. If we were, at one point, we were talking about possibly using it for municipal offices. Could you envision a municipal office in that room? In the northern room, whatever, on the first floor, if the accessible entrance is coming into that Could you envision that? Would that?
You're talking the western, with the,
Or
Yeah,
the
like
chambers room.
over here, the western,
Here,
okay.
yeah, like, could you, let's say
Potentially.
social services wanted to use that room, or, you know, I don't know,
Yeah.
could you?
I mean, let's play a part, I would see, how about Park and Rec, because
Yeah,
area closer to the, whatever
Right,
facilities
and
might be easier.
I mean, they could use this whole back area and,
Potentially, yeah, sure, then I could certainly
Or-
still have, again, whether you use.
and underneath there, they could store a lot of sports equipment. whether it's-
I cannot see that, Zan. I really can't. That is not a very usable space.
Which one?
The basement is just.
No, here, back here.
Right, that limited that out, that,
There's, you can't stand up and you could
well, it
certainly.
needs to, then gets
Gold.
so moldy and
Yeah.
damp and no.
Well, that also needs to happen.
But anyway,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
you
could
can,
there
you-
be a municipal as well as a public office use, business use of the first floor? Sure.
okay,
I mean, I would think that we,
Yeah.
if you want to look at that, for sure.
Yeah.
Again, that would, we are stretching a little bit at the seams here. Can always use a better, room, whatever it may be, layout. So I know, you're not going there, I know that. Yeah, and potentially, I mean, if you're gonna do that, you'd have to consider that for sure. A mix of public, private use.
I don't, there are a lot of organizations still that would like to continue to use the space, on an occasional basis, if not.
And that's,
certainly
yeah,
full-time.
and, yeah.
But there's as far as I'm concerned, I think there are far too many places that are listed as office.
yeah, I would
office
not,
space.
I would not want to go, I would not want to present this plan
To the public.
to the public using the word office
No,
space.
I wouldn't
I
either.
think meeting space is the one to use. I mean, there are legal uses
Or
of assembly
meeting,
versus business.
Exhibit space,
A
a
gathering
I think
space.
meeting. I
Meeting
think
and
meeting.
gathering space.
Just change
Just for-
office to
for our
meeting.
internal
Yeah.
use, yes.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it comes across better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally right.
Yeah, meeting and office space, yep.
The
So,
other,
okay, so we want to call it meeting space,
Yeah,
any office for anything else? I mean, or any other, any of the rooms, you guys, any other place?
on the first floor,
Yeah, we're only gonna talk first floor now, right now. That's what we had.
I'd like to suggest that we take these walls out and leave this as one open space.
But still meeting space.
Yeah.
gathering
not-
space.
Not office.
we can't have it as office/storage.
No.
No.
I wonder if there's a problem if you store things in an office.
No.
Probably not.
I know. I mean, the garden club space back here needs to have storage.
I know, but if you label it as storage, then
Yeah.
you can't use it as office.
No, that's not true.
I think it
Legally,
is.
then, we have to be careful with legal terminology, like they were using assembly as an
Right.
official term. Building is an official term, storage is an official term. But if we have this as sort of a general gathering space, we can then unofficially inside
Yeah.
say people can store stuff.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is not rental storage like the places where you have garage doors and you put all your boat in there, but every office that I've worked in has a certain amount
Yeah.
of storage space, because you need to put your supplies and equipment
What
somewhere.
about business/meeting?
Okay.
Doesn't business,
Or meeting/business, let's put the word meeting first.
we're not really talking about renting out this space.
But we have, haven't we? Talked about renting it for businesses.
Well, I mean,
To me, business means we're renting it out to a business.
That's the zoning term, Lynn.
Right.
So he's not calling it assembly, he's calling it business, he's not calling it residential, he's calling it business.
Right.
So that's what these two guys
Business,
said, more of the
commercial,
zoning,
yeah.
and that's what they're classifying the building as, a business being done out of there. So you're getting hung up on the word business.
whether we charge for it or
It's
allow
confusing
use.
for
Yeah.
which entity
But
you're
we-
talking to now they're.
You
I think
utilizing,
meeting space
yes,
is the
The
thing
whole-
to do.
that use of.
Or meeting
government or
exhibit,
municipal
you
building
know.
space.
Well,
that
that
would
would come under it.
They have this
It's
term.
simple. It's
It
meeting.
doesn't mean you have to charge for it, it means it's a business, so a conducting of a business of a chamber, the garden club, or,
Mhm.
Yeah, but I
sort
don't
of.
think that the codes usually refer to it that way.
Right.
In our conducting of
Well, it could, again, the use
Well,
of
if
facilities.
that
stuff
stands
is
that if
different
it
than
belongs
but
to the
anyway,
town.
maybe, whatever.
If
We
it
could,
belongs to the town and the town allows it to be used by.
so you just want to use meeting, then just stick with meeting?
Yeah, I think so. Meeting, sure.
That's, you know, it's a big, generous, overarching phrase. I mean,
Okay. So. We'll just say
Well,
the kitchen goes, I mean, we'd
I
say,
mean,
but is all these just be labeled as meeting spaces?
meeting slash office. I mean, I don't want to, if you say meeting, does that mean it's assembly as opposed?
No.
to-
No.
And we could even mark it like meeting slash office in the main room and just say less than 50 people.
Because that gives us,
Well, I think
well, I
we-
think that's the key to it. This gives us options as long as we make it clear that it's less than 50 people. If somebody wanted to rent one of the rooms as an office space and the rest are, you know, we can't divide it up
So
ahead of time.
clarify for me, I thought the 50-person rule was how many restrooms you had to have.
That's
And how
one.
many easements.
That's part
Yeah, we have 6 entrances to the ground floor.
But you heard him say, they're not legal entrances.
All up to code.
They're not up to code.
Not all.
The doors are not wide enough.
Yeah.
So they.
You may end up closing some of those up.
Are you talking about ADA wide enough? or
No,
public wide?
just anywhere, just for right now.
That's why he also said he can go to the state because it's a historic building.
Potentially, I'm not sure.
But I mean, I think, anyway,
Outdoor, doors to the outside, people need to be able to get out of them. though.
Right, and so.
Safely, there needs to be steps on the outside, the whole thing, so some of those don't have very safe
Right.
exits on the other
One of the
side.
back looks not good, but anyway, yeah, and I don't think that really, again, we can deal with that on a construction, plans.
Yeah.
But, so meeting,
I think meeting space,
Meeting space.
just right for
Call
now,
it meeting. all right,
which is basically not, I mean, that's what we've been calling it, not a change of use. Just gonna still continue to be what it has been.
So what do we want to do about the accessible entrance?
yeah.
I'd like to know what the difference in cost is, and we did also.
Well, that's one.
Yeah,
Well,
because
I'm not
I,
worried about the
there was-
cost. I can't believe it, but I think we have to choose.
in the list, it's
What do you want to
between
make?
28 and 40,000, that's a difference of $12,000.
Not worried, that's not a necessary
I
word.
mean, if we're talking about phase 1 and how much it's gonna cost, it would be nice to know if there's a significant difference in cost to do the two.
That is true. It would be nice to know.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I have a problem with is I don't really understand. Even if we go back to them and say, okay, we're gonna change these names, we're gonna get rid of the kitchen. And
We choose the.
yeah, and this, how much does this cost? If
We
we
do know
just,
how much the front entrance costs and the second and the back entrance, because Plan A had the front entrance and Plan B has the second entrance. So if you look at the two plans and have you priced it
they
for
don't,
each
they
entrance.
didn't make it easy for us to actually
I mean,
pick and choose as
Right.
to what items.
right, and priority
I didn't
one,
think so.
For you and I. like-
Where it says a ramp to provide access likely to the east side, it still says in the revised thing, that's, or the back
Yes.
west side of it, and then it has 28 to 40,000. So one is more expensive than the other,
He said verbally that the back one is less expensive.
right?
What I want to do at that point is the board, you and I, to move this to the task force to take up some of those other issues. We will go with that to the architects and say, change the first floor plan with the naming convention, with the entrance. Right, to what, in the general concept, and then give us the cost analysis on that.
And a revised
And
plan.
revised plan, so I'm saying revised plan on the first floor.
Mm.
Second floor can be just a storage, nothing else.
Right.
To erase everything
I
else.
agree with you on
Okay.
that.
And that way it's simplified.
And then
forward
we
approach.
potentially could go to the state for a steep grant and say, this is our plan for the
Yeah, we're
first
gonna talk
floor.
about moving on to the steep grant, but yes, we could do that. And
Or even go to SHPO. and say-
SHPO or others,
Yeah.
there's other places we could do it, but you're right. But if we do that, I think it's gonna scope, like you want it to be, scoped into the this first floor plan and put it into a meeting space with an ADA accessible bathroom, all that taken care of. Then at that point, the specifics of how, where you put the old, or the kitchenette, what do you want to call it? That could be in the old space right now, and just have them revise that and change that, and just clean that out, put a little. But where it's located, if you wanted to get to a bigger meeting space, it's not bad. I mean, all it's gonna be there.
I mean, it
but-
doesn't make it compliant and only one person can work at a time. It's a nightmare.
Well, I'm saying you open it up, but
Open it up.
the space, where the
There's the
location,
floor
the
space.
space would be good.
Right.
At that point, if you give it back to the task force.
Yeah.
For you guys to get together with Glenn and work out some of the details that you're specific about. Okay, so
Can we go back? Because one of the things you raised before that I think if we're gonna present a plan to the town, I think having just saying storage upstairs is, I don't want to pay for, a whole floor of storage. It's not useful really to anybody. And it's dangerous to go up that stairway, even to, especially if you're holding things in your
you can have a
arms.
story thing up
What?
there, but you just put
But
marketed storage and leave it, that's what it is now. It's
for,
storage, so.
for phase one. But I think we need to present a long-term plan for the building. When we can get state grants, if, Taylor Swift opens up her pocketbook for us. I've got 2 feelers out for that might help a lot. If we can get the money for it. And also, I've talked to Justin Potter about having a workforce apartment up there. Could be for a teacher, because they have hard time recruiting teachers because it's expensive to live here and they have to come from a long distance. I mean, it could be very helpful for the town. And we're known not to have enough affordable housing. And Justin suggested, I know the headache of being a landlord. He said you could give a long-term lease to Kent Affordable Housing and we could manage all of that.
Kind of like that accessory dwelling thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they could take care of, identifying the tenant and getting the rent paid on time, and that could, nobody would have to do anything. And if there are maintenance issues, they could negotiate that with them.
And because it's affordable housing, there may be a whole separate pile of money that you could access.
There's definitely a pile of money. I'm waiting for a call back from the person who administers that.
Yeah.
I think you could get, I don't remember if it's 200 or 500,000. But you could get a lot to put that into useful life.
And then there's always, like they were saying,
And all the affordable housing people would be enthusiastic.
they
about
would,
it.
and also it's good to have a person living in a historic building as things happen.
And it lowers the insurance on it too, because there's nobody living, there's somebody living on the premises. So, long-term, I think that would be a good thing to consider.
I do too, and I was not always sold on that idea, but, because I figured that it was just gonna be so expensive to get the stairwell dealt with and a second accessible entrance, but I think it's
We can get
doable.
outside funding to do that because of it being affordable housing or whatever. Yes, that puts a whole different slant on the finances of the town.
So, okay.
Yes.
If you're gonna put an apartment on the second floor, feasibly, you're gonna put the entrance in the back. So if the handicap parking is there and a tenant is parking there, you could potentially create conflict. So you really need. So here's my point, and what I keep thinking about this whole process is you just keep saying things, but not thinking what you've already said. And so you're kind of egg and chicken and sort of thing again. If you're gonna make an apartment upstairs, then to me, logically, you'd use the front doors or the porch as the main entrance so that the person who was renting it wouldn't be in conflict of their entrance with the handicap entrance. So, but if you weren't gonna put the apartment upstairs and put that, you're gonna put that big enclosed stairway on the back, I'm assuming.
We're gonna have to do that if there's a.
If you're gonna put the apartment up there.
Right.
So, but I think that would be in conflict. And so you need to think what phase two, if you're calling it that, phase two, is gonna be so that you can do phase one right. You know what I mean? Because I think if you put the handicap entrance back there and then put that, I mean, that's too much clutter in that whole back corner. I personally, I would think, to have all that. So I think you need to think the whole project through before you make a decision.
I would like a structural engineer. I mean, I don't know about, Tim. Tim said, oh, it's too complicated, but if you started that stair, if you started it here instead of here,
No, we're not gonna, that is.
what?
You heard it from the fire marshal and you heard it from the architect. It's not a usable stairwell.
No.
It's just not.
As it
gets you-
exists, but it
But
gets you
it's
to the
not
door.
a usable
And it
stairwell.
gets you up into an attic. You're talking about one in the back of the kitchen, right?
And then once you come up the stair, it's gotta be all rated and all that stuff.
Right.
So you can't, and that means the whole attic would have to have a rated, it's a lot more work.
The attic's not insulated properly, the floor's not outside, there's nothing about it, so you're adding to your own cost.
And that whole stairwell, just as a former fire marshal, freaks me out.
Yeah. If you were to take all that, if you were to
That's
lock
why
it
we
all
have
up
to
and take
be-
it apart, there's. if you
No,
need-
I think it needs to be closed off and never used again.
Close it off, but use that for whatever downstairs storage or your kitchenette area. No, I mean, space, just take.
Oh,
take
use
it
the
out, cut-
space, yeah.
Cut it over, bring it down and open up that space.
Yeah, that would be
That's an easy,
favorable.
that's right. like you
Do,
said.
what do you say?
So
Getting
you're
rid of
saying how
that
small
stairwell.
that area would, the current kitchenette area. Kitchenette area is small and all that stuff. If you were to take out that stairway, it'll give you more room on that first floor level.
Yeah.
You just take it all out, box it up to the top,
Right.
lock it off there, lock it up the top, and then, because again, it's just not usable. Because you're now using that hallway to get into other office spaces, and if you start blocking that out, you're gonna be interfering with the meeting.
It would
rooms.
end at the same place. It would just start at a different place upstairs.
No, it puts you into that small attic, Sam, which is really not usable for anything. And I think I like your idea, Marty, of getting more floor space on the first floor.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let the
Yeah,
task force argue that, going out, that's other stuff, but really, as far as the recommendation of what we want to do with the first floor, with the current plan, and where we want to scope it. And then we can do phases, and we can give it back to task force to recommend, looking at additional phases, right? If you wanted to do that, Zan and Marge and Glenn.
I kind of wanted the selectmen to present this to the town.
We will.
I didn't really want it to go back to them and then.
You know what I think I should be a part of the presentation. One of the guys, if we could get them here from SHPO with enthusiasm about. what
We get
wonderful
something in
smart
writing, to
building.
actually,
Yes, they were so
verbal.
excited.
is a
They were
very
so
easy aspect, but let's get the writing.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
assume that's good. Right, yeah, we can talk about that. We can have a whole presentation, a hearing evening of the whole aspect of it if you want. We can run all that.
I mean, in terms of legally presenting it to the town, we would need to, if we get to the point of a steep grant, right, because we'd be spending money on a town building, right? Yeah, that would be the sort of the trigger of like legally, we would have to say, this
Oh,
is our
right,
plan.
yeah,
for-
we'd have to get the town would have
Yeah.
to have approved this going forward for us to be able to apply for the
Yeah.
grant, correct?
We still got to-
But they don't start until July anyway, but I'm thinking we're doing this.
No, I mean, I definitely,
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to, I mean, if there was a way we could afford to fix the bathroom, you know?
Yeah,
And if we could use the $14,000 in the bathroom, I would love that.
We'll get the outside done.
Yeah, I honestly, I'd
Well,
rather.
there's this year's money and there's next year's money too, right? So.
Anyway, so you want a motion, right? I will, let's see,
we need a motion.
so basically we want a motion to, ask for a few adjustments to the plan?
Correct.
Okay.
To accept the, with modifications to follow for designation of the first floor as meeting space.
For nomenclature or some, some modifications,
Right, for modifications, but
Yeah.
renovation is needed.
You just like,
What's that?
You're not
you're
done.
done.
Sure. Accept the motion to accept the plans of,
You need to second.
you just said, it's a plan of,
Modification.
with modifications
to,
to designate the first floor as meeting space and with recommendation for ADA entrance on the east side, porch entrance to the building.
is that what we decided?
That's what.
That's what we did. Well, we had the recommendation, we gotta make it, but I think that's, yeah, her mom, her dad, my mom, in-law. Okay, to the east side and, applicable ADA bathroom.
Price out the lift. Solve the problem.
We can do that. Yeah, that,
Remove the pole section.
You're just.
well, that's the modification. That's it. We'll get rid of all the current, we'll talk to Silver and Chili. We'll call them up and say, okay, Joyce,
Just to keep the.
So we're not,
Motions.
we're not gonna price the two accessible entrances. Just put it,
we're just gonna go with these, yeah. Price is 12,000 is not much, but there's other modifications we can look to do if we have to, but we'll choose which entrance we want to work on with ADA, and then to agree with the bathroom modification as it's there. I think that's what we need to do right now.
Do we want to just label the second floor as storage or just leave it alone?
You know, right now, they can commit, we can show, break out the first floor so everybody knows what we're doing.
Because we're not gonna get to go back to Silver Petroselli after this. This is it.
This is it. This is
Well,
it.
can we ask them to incorporate a lavatory at the top of the stairs?
No,
We don't.
no, we're not making any
We're gonna
plans
plan.
for the second floor. That's for sure.
Is that right?
We can have a plan, we don't have to do it. But we're
Plan changes
paying
the
them
use.
for a
We're,
plan.
we're gonna request the establishment of use of the first floor, and that's it right now, and everything else is storage. Or unused space, right? And so-
It's storage in terms of present use. But we're paying them for a plan for the whole building.
But see, actually, it says office.
Office.
It doesn't say storage for the second floor, for the second floor.
Right, you're gonna get rid of it.
That's my point. Like, it would probably be nice, we'd be better off just saying.
Guys.
That's what I'm saying, we just say, and then
Okay.
storage second.
And if this is,
I'll just show the rooms, we'll just put.
as we present this to the town, I think personally, if there's a concept for the second floor, that is saleable and attractive and interesting and useful, it's a much better thing than just to say, this is storage.
You're right, I mean, that's the, yeah.
And we have to have a plan for them in order to do that.
Well, I don't think we have, well,
You do have a plan, Lynn's
You do
looking
have a
at it
plan.
right now.
I know, but I don't like.
Plan. And you may not like the labeling, but what Zan's saying to present it to the town, because that's phase two, and so you will have additional conceptuals, but to bring it to the town, you say, here's one conceptual drawing that was done, you can see that there's a bathroom, there's room for a, in phase one, when you're selling phase two, you don't need as detailed, so I think you already have it, Zan, I don't think
we're not
that.
getting rid of anything that's here now.
But you need to say, you have to label the whole second floor as storage.
Right, for now, that's what it's labeled, that's what it's designated in the town with the building codes guys, it's storage, that's what it is right now. Try to put a bathroom up into the storage, it'll change the whole use, it causes all the other issues with the stairwell, not being, or stairway.
Well, I thought you said that he had redone that stairway anyway, but,
Yeah, he did,
yeah,
he did, which I can't believe, but.
Right,
that it was, he redid it to be code compliant.
but for the cost of phase one right now, we have the plan, see that we have the plan, we're not throwing away anything that's already been done, but we're saying, here's what we're gonna keep it in storage up there, not change the
You can do that in terms of use, and they agree. We're not doing this now. We're just making a plan to show to you so that this would be another phase that at some later
Second
date.
phase would be,
But when we can find the funding, we'd like to be able to do this. So I wouldn't ask them to change the whole upstairs.
I would,
I don't think you need to put, they're not gonna say, you have this on the plan. So we have to change the whole use of the building. You don't change the use of the building until you do it.
yeah, but I just think it's cleaner if we don't have the word office on the second floor. If we just label it as storage, because we now know from our code officials, that's the way they see it. So
but that's how it looked, right?
just the label, just need to label
Exactly.
from office to storage.
That felt to me. So it would be the first floor, you know, whatever. And then second floor, right now, phase one, storage. Phase two, look it over and think phase two, if now becomes into a office or meeting, whatever, or if we decide down the line to look at a building use with affordable housing, and there's ways they could do that, and they have money to pitch into it and all that kind of stuff, make it compliant to them and all that, then, yeah.
Then we do it,
Yeah.
not
Right,
now.
right, that's what I'm saying, but that, I would give, what I need to take right now on this meeting is exactly what we have. Give it back to you guys and have you play with your steps to phase two, not erasing anything, but what we're gonna present first is this, we're gonna present this. And then they can say, well, what about the rest of the building? Well, we have in plans for other phases, there's other costs associated to it. You see our, you know, it's public record, the minute we vote on this and say, and they can look at costs. We're not gonna hide it from them, but it's going to be in place. So people that think we're not rushing to, $1.9 million next year,
I
we're gonna throw a bond on it and they're gonna pull their hair out.
Yeah.
Because we just went through a reval and we're trying to keep.
And I think people will respect the fact that we're not trying to spend a huge chunk of money right now.
And then we start
have our
talking
options
about
open.
where we build the grant programs, we build the
Yeah.
relationships to, for
Yeah.
whatever it is we're gonna do.
Right.
Then we build that along with the conceptualization for it. Then we break that, because even in this first phase, we can change that stairway. That stairway can be broken out without having to probably interfere with whatever might the first floor actually get to. If we have a meeting there, that's not gonna affect that. You can get in the front door, you can go around. It may be a short time when they block it off, but they build it, but then they can start for the second phase. But you know what I'm saying? So it's not gonna change any ability for us to do it because we, move meeting space in there and then we can't get to that stairway in the main entryway. We can't. We can do that. We can go to the second phase. But right now, get the step in the door, get the lady to look, or the guy to look at the vacuum cleaner, and then we.
Could we put,
Can-
on phase
can
one,
we-
could we put on the second floor, present use storage?
Yeah.
Could we ask them to break out the pricing a little differently?
Sure.
Because, yeah, I don't think it's helpful the way it is.
No, I think we can do phase one pricing.
Yeah,
I think we
yeah,
can break
like
it.
phase one,
They do have that, but, this is, they have the pink and that's phase one.
yeah, but they
But,
also.
but phase one really needs to include what they put in phase three, which is the bathroom. That needs to be in
Oh,
phase one.
yeah, well,
You asked them to prioritize it on ADA, or that's why I prioritize that way. That's what.
I'll change that.
ADA requires the bathroom.
But that's what needs to be done before you can even think about doing the bathroom, in their opinion. I mean, they prioritize that, and you're looking at one or two.
I'm looking at the first page and they have,
Which plan though?
the revised second plan. And they have as phase one, accessibility. And they have a lot of money in there for, where is it? No, maybe somewhere else under architecture. Well, they have things that aren't, that have nothing to do with accessibility, like the porches. Anyway, and then they have as phase two, all of the entrances to all of the different spaces on the first floor, which we don't have to do now. Because according to the SHPO people, you can get not a variance, but
It's not a guarantee,
It's not a
it's a request. We don't know that, and you do have to do it until you get that.
Well, you have to ask for it and get
So you have to include it in your budget at this point, because you don't know that you're gonna get approved, because you don't even know that the
Your
building's gonna get
contingency would
approved.
be the SHPO approval and then.
it on those things that are.
It's not SHPO, it's the state building official.
Yeah, right, well, but because of SHPO designation, we have to
Right,
modification to go. And then we don't want to wait 2 years in some cases where SHPO's funding is locked up and we can go quicker, so we may have to.
And then there's, but they put the bathroom in phase 3, when it really needs to be in phase 1.
Yeah, that I don't understand at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the first priorities.
But that's our priority, and they've clearly used different things for their priority
But,
designation.
but we need to tell them what
I know,
priorities
I
are.
know. I mean,
That we can go back and talk to them about.
Yeah.
At them.
so does that
Again-
need to be in the motion though, so
Yeah.
we're nice and clear
I
about
think what
our
we can say with
expectations?
modifications and the modification we understand is to re-look at all, we could go into a motion that's 5 pages long, but I think with appropriate modifications to phase 2 architecture drawings.
Here's, I just want to see if this makes sense, and I think I've got what
Absolutely.
you said. Accept the Silver Petroselli needs assessment plan with a request for some modifications to the first floor to designate meeting space. And the east side porch as the accessible entrance. And applicable bath on the first floor. I guess at first of those. And then on the second floor, change the office labels to storage.
And do storage.
They probably just storage.
Um, And adjust the cost estimations to pull out the phase 1 first floor
Yeah,
project.
that's the first floor in projects.
Yeah, they have,
What are you deeming phase 1 though, again, like
That's the problem.
First floor, first floor.
Because they put too much stuff in their phase 1.
Phase 1, the windows need to be done on the first floor?
No,
no,
Do you think the floors need to be done?
no,
No.
only
Yeah, 'cause
the
they're
bare minimum of what needs to be done to make it ADA accessible, like we were talking about small ramps or something like
I
that,
think
not.
So you're gonna open it and then you're gonna close it again to then replace windows. So you're gonna replace windows and then you're gonna open it again and then you're gonna close it again to, have to rip up the floors, which then you're gonna mess.
But
up
that's
the-
what I want, I don't wanna have to rip up the floors, I wanna keep the floors as much as we can.
Just
That's
refinish.
part of the historic nature of that building.
But I thought that part of the problem was that they needed to be, maybe not rip them up, but they all need to be, maybe the joists would need to be sister, like, so do that kind of work. Is that part of phase 1?
Yeah, it has to be.
the joist,
Then the walls, are you gonna take down the, because if you're.
No, I don't wanna take down any walls except what has to happen for the bathroom. And obviously, if we're gonna go with this plan of opening up that one.
Are you including the electrical? Because we haven't had the
I
electrical.
don't wanna do anything that we
okay.
don't have to do,
Joy,
you know?
I understand where you're going, Joyce, that is a part of the architectural
That's what
building.
they deemed as a priority, so there has to be some validity to it.
Oh, yeah, because
When they looked at the building, I mean, he spent.
The minute they go into the bathroom and start pulling out electrical wires, and it has to be brought up to code, they'll chase the electrical wires back, right? Your husband knows how to do that. We got to
But
chase it back.
they said you could have an electrician go in and test to see if there's grounded electricity in there. If there's not, then we know
That's
we
part of
have
the-
to,
that's actually part of the building.
yeah.
I doubt if there's not a two still.
The architect also mentioned that the system needed to be upgraded to accommodate some of the new HVAC stuff potentially and that sort of
We don't
stuff.
have to do HVAC to do the ADA and get the building open. We do not have to do that.
No, we don't have,
We don't have to. So I feel very strongly that this plan needs to be focused on what we have to do to get the building open. That was what we want, that was what was discussed for the needs assessment. We don't have to do HVAC. can be a later phase. I understand it needs to be done. I understand plumbing eventually needs to be done. The first phase needs to focus on the ADA.
I was just finished with saying that sometimes, and Dan will probably agree with me, when you do stuff like that after the fact, it's more expensive. If you do it in the initial phase, because you're already in the process and you have things going on, it's more cost effective sometimes, both financially and time wise with the use of the building. But you can say something,
I understand that argument, but I also know that the town is not gonna accept spending $1 million, $2 million on this building right now. They're not gonna accept that. So we have to come up with a plan that's more palatable, yes, palatable.
So what is the plan in terms of funding and timing? I mean, we've been through a budget process, it's getting pretty buttoned up at this point. This is not in it, this is a special ask like the sidewalks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Complex itself.
How-
Have to be a special.
So
Because
a special meeting
You know, what's growing.
separate from the
Every time you-
24-25 budget. And somewhere in that also has to go the cost of drawings and specifications.
Right.
And the things that I put in a list. of
Well, I
what's-
think we need to try for grants first.
Yeah.
And those grants pretty much are starting July, so, you know. So we may not be able to make it into this building system.
Cycle, when we get it open. And then see what we can do. Right. But that's when I need your task force to get the people lined up to do what we can with the money you have now. Look at how you want to spend that money for next year as well. You can go to June and then pick up July and move on, right? So you can at least get the outside going, some of the painting and working at that.
I mean, could,
But is it possible that we could use the money to do the bathroom? Like, let's say we.
30,000. We have 14 and a half plus whatever else that hasn't been spent. I mean, their estimate is 30,000.
I think it'd be a little difficult to go back and say, okay, we wanted that 15,000 we have now in this year's budget to do the work on outside, but now we want to do something else, we're not gonna do the outside. Because it'd have to be almost a special fund like the school does, when they collect money at the end of the year and keep it over. There's
Yeah.
potential to do that, but there's also potential.
They
to
can do it, but I don't think in the town budget you can do it, can you?
We can designate special funds, and we just have to get the town to agree to move that money into a special account. Yeah, that can be done. We have a ton of special funds.
I mean, if there's money,
But like I say, if she told me that she wanted to spend the money on the bathroom instead of Zan's concept of spending it on the outside, it's irrelevant. I can spend it it can be spent either which way. It's in the budget, it's as maintenance repairs of the building. It's not designated in the budget, external or internal. So we could take that money and put it towards the bathroom if that's what you decide that you want to do.
but I don't think we have enough to do the bathroom.
I have no idea. I mean, there's not much in the other lines.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we
Yeah.
can, to get the board of finance to agree to take money out of the general fund, put it into another fund for next year, say 15 grand, we won't use it, we'll give it back to just expended funds this year, we're not doing anything. And then going back and said, what we want you to do is really add back, give us an extra 15 to add to what next year's budget is and put it right in the bathroom.
But if you
starting in July.
if it started in June, it runs into July or August, we have two budgets.
I know.
So there's
Right.
30,000.
But in the meantime, you're not protecting the envelope, which is
Right, which is.
problematic.
But if you end up finding out there's lead paint, the paint removal becomes a major expense. That you're not gonna be able to.
Well, I mean, then
I
we'll
understand
do
that's
it, because we do a cap plan, we'll say we're gonna have to, because we found this one, now we want to direct some money.
I mean, is there a picture that they're replacing all the siding?
No, it's not,
Anyway, that's getting
Yeah. here we go.
But, so I guess the other thing that I want to have this motion say is that the cost adjustment to phase one should be the minimum to have, the minimum to, of these things that are gonna, you know,
Yeah, I see.
say
But-
that, you know, all these things listed above, you know, like the ADA bathroom, ADA accessibility.
I'd like to,
That's, I mean, I don't really want, I mean,
Okay, so
I don't want it to be all the electricity unless we determine we have to do all the electricity.
yeah, but I don't even want it to be knock out this door frame so that the garden room can be accessible when the SHPO people said if people can get into the main rooms where the main activities take place and they're not denied access to those activities, everything in the entire building, every door doesn't have to be ADA, and you don't have to have ugly push bars.
Well,
for doors.
but also because you're saying that like there are spaces that are not gonna be open to. Basically, that was how I interpreted what Chappelle was saying.
For example,
But these two states just said, if it's a municipal building, that unless you get that variance. or
Yeah.
modification, you have to plan for it.
well, I think we need to take the plan. I don't know what the process is, and SHPO can advise us, but if we could take the plans and go to them and say, it's going to really compromise the historic atmosphere of this house if we have, push bars on all the doors, and if we have to take out all of the millwork, and, these can be opened, this can be opened without damaging anything, and so this would be accessible to get to here. I don't think we have to worry about that. But it would be nice to know, I think they have in their budget a lot of money for changing every doorway, all the hardware, everything, and it's gonna look entirely different.
Yeah.
And as long as people can get in, whether it's here or here, doesn't matter. If they can use this space, if they can get through here, if they can get through here, they can get into what's the chamber space now. That's the main use of the building. And what they said when they met with us on Friday was, if there's other stuff they can't get to, they can use the main meeting spaces and the main exhibit space and stuff. And then you don't have to tear out all of the detail of the house and make it look like it.
Right. Which would be my goal. Definitely want to preserve as much of the historic nature of the house as possible.
So how detailed does this motion have to be?
I'm just concerned that the right information is getting
did
conveyed.
you write anything down that we did before or you?
Lynn read it to you, that's basically what I wrote.
Yeah,
the same thing she wrote.
I just don't have the cost part right. Just the cost. Just the cost estimate.
Per phase.
To phase one for
Minimal ADA.
Minimal, that's-
Minimal ADA compliant.
minimal ADA,
Initial compliance, yeah.
minimal, that's the key word.
That's enough.
Okay,
It's not
so we're gonna-
Fine, when you say minimal, what you mean is bathroom and entryway, that's all you mean, so I would put minimal because their definition of minimal and yours could be different.
Yeah.
We're already experiencing that. I think you need to be specific so that when I call them, I can say specifically, the motion tells me you need to do the bathroom and entryway.
Okay. So here we go. Accept Silver Petroselli's needs assessment plan with a request for modification to the first floor to designate meeting spaces. And the east side porch would be the accessible entrance and accessible bathroom.
all on the first floor. The second floor, change the office labels to present use storage and adjust the cost estimate to phase 1 for bathroom and entryway ADA compliance.
So
So
If we're
there's my
accepting-
motion.
if we're accepting this, then there.
With these modifications.
This is the draft that was given to us for comment and response. There are things that need to be adjusted in the long-term plan
Okay.
that, I don't think we should say we're accepting.
They
this.
want us to accept it because
Yeah,
they
we
want to
need to.
put it in, they want it to be a final plan. They don't want it to be a draft anymore. So if you have things that you think need to be changed, you
I
need to
have-
tell us.
I have things that
Well,
I.
and for the sake of our mission today,
Yeah.
in this meeting, was to get to the initial acceptance of the plan that S&P put forward for us, which is what we have on, that's the motion on the floor.
I mean,
Any-
if I were the client.
Can I just hear what Marty's?
Yeah, so the follow-on to that, once we accept this motion, is to have us with a baseline that we can now start to work off of, go to the town. And with the secondary phases, which you guys, I'll turn it back over to you to do all the things, Suzanne, that you're saying we should be looking at to put into consideration. You know, you guys and Ed, hopefully, and Glenn, and then bring it back to us. All right, when you have this is where we want to look at the follow-on plans, and then we can discuss that later, but right now we can work off this towards our initial implementation of everything we've worked for to get that open with the ADA bathroom and compliance. Secondary is to what we do with the rest of the building and our rest of phases, right? And that's kind of, I think, where you're trying to go, and I want you to get there, but
But what I don't want it to cost the town more architectural fees when I think they're asking for our feedback and we should be giving them all the feedback we have to give them instead of saying we're accepting it with just these modifications. I mean, this is not a
Okay, but
plan.
we haven't really considered exactly what we want on that second floor yet.
No, but we might as well have a plan that we paid for.
But a plan, if we haven't figured out what we're gonna have a plan to get to, what's the plan? I mean, if you guys want to come up with a different suggestion plans, whether it becomes a rental unit, becomes a, workforce housing, which is different than a total affordable housing issue, or affordable housing. I mean, those are 3 separate areas. We're gonna have to, be honest with you, we're gonna have to get to another architect to do
Right,
second floor plans,
that's
because that's when we get into, we have to put heat up there, we have to make sure we have AC and all that stuff up in the building. That's gonna have to be a bigger piece of that as we get underneath the right tip of the iceberg. So, all those things you're saying, great, fine.
Right.
But we can go forward right now with this, get our initial done, and if we have to go back and reopen it, we can do that. Our contract with them is going to be complete as of this. So anything more we do, right, Dan, it's gonna have to be another contract.
Well, but why? I mean, why?
Because we
Because
only
we've
hired them.
exhausted this.
No, this is,
No, it doesn't mean we can't use the plan and go off the plan that they have already. And we might, so we're perpetually, maybe the guys that continue to do it, or maybe there's another group that's better off when they actually get to the construction phase of it. I'm not sure. I mean, that's what we'll look at. But right now, our RFP, our contract with these guys is to give us a conceptual plan. This is where we've decided, we just voted on it, so we kind of.
Well, we got voted.
We did. All in favor? Okay, all right, we're having a discussion.
The original RFP did not include a design of the second floor. So the original RFP did not include the second floor. So they've already gone above and beyond by giving us some conceptual things, but it did not include the second floor design.
No, it was the ADA entrance and bathroom, really, figures, but how do we get to that? And they were good, and we wanted to look at it because we wanted to look at it in total. So we agreed to open up a little bit, but to really get to these guys so we can complete our contract. And then actually move towards getting the town back involved and saying, here's our plan initially, guys, and here's how we're gonna try to scope it. But here we have the rest of the building needs to be looked at, and here's our potential plans for that.
okay, on the ground floor, we're taking this out now. I want to take these out. I don't think that needs to be 2 rooms. We want to move the kitchen. We're not going to have a kitchen there. It doesn't say any of that in here. I'd like to be able to have them at least make the changes on the ground floor that we've all discussed.
That's exactly what we're gonna,
Right.
exactly what we're gonna do with this one.
Okay.
No, exactly.
Okay, so those will be included in the modifications.
Right, those are the modifications that we're, I believe we've captured those.
I mean, we can adjust the motion to say no kitchen.
This should say not the office.
Yeah, we've already said we're gonna, the second
Yes,
floor
I'm
is
saying, I
gonna
don't
say
think we need to be
storage.
specific on that. We
Right.
can say the modifications, we know
Storage.
we want to take up vacation. We'll talk to them, to get them to review.
I agree, Marty.
Okay. I still want to do my bachelor.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay.
All right,
All right.
accomplish that.
The things I have on the list for proposed repairs, we can go over with the task force.
Exactly, and that's the next phase.
I will also get in touch with these people about testing and they, and if we can.
Can you get an electrician to come in and test?
I've already had, yeah, what is the name? Yeah, he's already come and I mean, a year and a half ago. Gave me price for upgrade and. But I don't think he tested everything. I can ask him if he'll test the.
Yeah.
Make sure we don't have any nothing to.
And make sure.
Okay, so this is the next phase.
Does everything have to be grounded or just when there's water?
There has to be ground in, ability to ground in each plug. In each, yeah, the three.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there'll be, code says it's two
Yeah,
prong.
that's,
But that's just, I think the wiring, is okay, having looked at some of it, that you can, there's a ground to that wire, so you can, just read, if you have to, redo it yourself. I don't think there's that many of.
Says, can I just,
Yeah, sure.
it just says. There's a limited amount of modern Romance wiring, but we suspect that most of the wiring concealed in the walls and ceiling is of the older style. Power outlets are provided in limited quantity in most spaces. All of these were observed to be 3-wire grounded type.
So I mean, it's
But they're saying those are the ones
Well,
they can see.
there aren't enough for code.
no, and they're gonna.
I know that because, in that main room, there's like one on this side and one on that side. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should be addressed.
The other thing is we should have working light bulbs in the attic and stuff like that, because
Oh, yeah.
obviously just walking around on Friday.
Yeah,
There's so many-
somebody must have left the light on and it just
Probably
broke
was down
out.
the bulbs out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Because-
lamps used to work.
Yeah,
Lamps
I mean,
used
you
to-
could just flip the switch and they went on, but I think maybe.
That's an easy fix.
Maybe when the architect was there, they just,
Okay, so the next phase here for today is the next steps. So we're gonna return it. This is what we're gonna go forward with. We're gonna go to the architect, get them to redo the plans as our motion requests. And meanwhile, turn it back to you guys for your plan for executing your funds for this year and how you want to do it, tie it in next year, that's fine. And then recommendation is fine for the follow-on paving, what you would consider, what you guys like to decide, you want to recommend to us, right? To you guys. Then, and for us, we have to look at how we want to, I think we need a meeting with Glenn here, with you guys and with Glenn.
Yeah.
To figure out what our next phase is to go to the town.
Yeah.
To have a discussion, open hearing on it, kind of like what we did to Cage the other night. Fairly straightforward.
Yeah, but with a presentation.
Well, that's, I mean, no,
Yeah,
that's-
a little bit more of a presentation.
One
You
of-
did, you did. But I want pictures.
Yeah, no, but this I understand.
one of the modifications is eliminate this fence right here. If this works in terms of turnaround, would you want to see it there or would you want to see it here?
The
For
kitchen,
what? The kitchenette.
I mean, yeah, if we,
Do we have to show kitchenette on the plan? Does it matter?
If it's just gonna be.
I don't want it to show kitchen, I don't want
No,
to show where it is.
yeah.
But do we
Where
have
it
to
is,
show
I'm saying
it?
almost where it is. If you took that stairs out and you put it right where that is, that's.
We expanded it if you remember, if you look at the.
No, that is right in a passageway it's cumbersome. It doesn't have enough space for two people to be there.
But it's a kitchenette, you don't,
You know,
you don't have to have an ADA requirement
but
for it.
why would you redo that? I mean,
Why don't you guys
You guys
walk
have-
the building and figure out where's the best spot for the
Okay.
kitchenette? I really,
Yeah, that's-
it does not matter to me.
Right, right, yeah. But yeah, but we can, with modifications, do that. And we'll have, we'll open up, we'll take the kitchen, the destination kitchen's gotta come out anyway, because we don't want that to be. So it'll be, meetings, big space. And wherever in there, at the last minute, we can say, this is, with the recommendation, it's
Okay.
fine.
so we'll visit that and we'll let them know what the modifications are.
So we'll give you guys time, the month of May and all that to do it after we go to budgets and all that stuff. In June, we'll look at a time in June. Well, we'll take maybe, whenever we can get together, you guys ready.
Really, all potential food program is going on, I need to do this, but
Well, I'm saying,
3 o'clock in the afternoon meetings.
Just decide where you're going.
yeah, you guys decide that. You get with Glenn and work all that out.
I can meet
But
you.
we'll shoot for, in our planning phase, right? Plans that are surviving person gave at the end. We'll look to June to have a informational hearing with presentations in color, flags. Right, bands. We'll do that. And then for the town to start the discussion, actually get the background and the information out so we can get the right kind of background information back. Okay, that's our plan for the next step. Okay, all right. All right, now I have approved agenda for our town meeting for the board's. Straightforward. Legal notices of the electors of the town of Kent and who's qualified, and those qualified to vote in town meetings are hereby warned and notified that the special town meeting will be at Kent Town Hall, 41 Kent Boulevard, Green, Kent, Connecticut. That's a standard. And April 26, 2024 at 7 p.m. to consider an act on the following agenda, which is the resolution for the affordable housing. Shall the town approve the resolution in which the first selectman is hereby authorized and directed to convey to Kent Affordable Housing, Inc. a certain parcel of land identified as 1.159 plus or minus acres located in the town of Kent, county of Litchfield, and state of Connecticut, and is described in perimeter survey and schedule A, which is available in the town clerk's office with a copy of the entire resolution. And you say, well, person recording, especially because you had that myself, it's for selecting for the coordination. The whole, again, we're not putting anything else on it.
All right.
Okay.
So moved that we approve
Okay.
the agenda as presented.
Second that. You have the one there. It's signed. All right, all in favor? Any discussion? All in favor? All right.
And so we will definitely have a Google Drive folder with the resolution and the map in it for people, and we'll have that here for hard copies for
Hard
people.
copies like we're
Yeah.
gonna do, yeah.
Okay.
We'll put it. Where you go? I'm gonna tell you what's gonna be. Actually,
I expect to hear that in the review.
that's it, the marble. Okay. All right, any comment from the
Thank you
public?
guys.
Any other comments on what a nice day it is?
Thank you for all your work.
Starts
All in
yesterday,
favor?
but
Okay.
tomorrow's
Like
supposed to
motion
be
to adjourn?
nice.
So moved.
So moved, okay.
We're supposed to have a nice
Okay,
weekend.
adjourned at 5:05. I did 6:30.